Welcome to Choral Boot Camp, presented by the Michael O'Neill Singers Online. I'm Michael O'Neill, and I am glad you are with us. You know, as choruses prepare to get back in person, some already have, but many more are preparing to be in person by this fall. And so many of you, I know, are thinking, boy, I just don't think my voice is where it needs to be back in person singing. So what we're going to do in these 6 sessions is, in addition to working on some beautiful music, rehearsing and performing it together with pre-recorded performances, we're also going to be spending a lot of time on getting your voice back in shape. This is the order of what we are going to be doing. You've already received it probably, but I'll just go over it for you now. 6 sessions. The first one will be covering relaxation and vocal freedom. That will be today. Then on session 2, will be breathing and support, taking the breath correctly, and then once you've taken the breath, how do you keep from losing it quickly at the beginning of a phrase, supporting that breath. The third session will be vocal articulation, the 3 basic types of articulation, legato, staccato, and marcato, and the ways that they can be used in choral singing. And when a conductor or a director asks you to sing a little more staccato, a little more marcato, you'll know how to do that. In session 4, we'll be working on extending our range. Many of us are interested in getting a few more notes at the top, a few more notes at the bottom. So we'll work on how do you expand your vocal range. In session 5, we'll be dealing with vowels and consonants, those sounds that make words intelligible, and how we unify them in a choral setting so everyone is singing the same vowel sound, everyone is singing the same consonant sound at the same time. Then in session 6, we'll be talking about placement of the voice and resonance, whether it's a little more forward placement, a little farther back, how to sing with a resonant tone, especially when your director is asking you to sing with more resonance as a group. So those are the 6 areas, and what we'll be doing is applying all of these things to the music we'll be singing. And here are the pieces that we'll be singing. You should have already received links to all of them, but we'll just be doing 2 pieces for 2 weeks at a time. In sessions 1 and 2, starting with today, we'll be doing Wayfarin Stranger, arranged by Gilbert Martin, and Skip to My Lou, arranged by Edward Fissinger. Then, in sessions 3 and 4, we'll be doing 2 spirituals, Ain't It That Good News, William Dawson, and My Soul's Been Anchored in the Lord, Moses Hogan. 2 wonderful pieces. Then in sessions 5 and 6, we'll be doing a couple of folk hymns, Saints Bound for Heaven and Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing, both of them arranged by Mac Wilberg. So the plan will be, we'll rehearse them in the first of the 2 sessions and apply some of the things that we have worked on in that session. For example, today we'll be talking about relaxation and vocal freedom, and we'll see how that can be applied to these pieces, Wayfarin Stranger and Skip to My Lou. We'll continue the rehearsal of the pieces in the second session, which would be session 2, then session 4, then session 6, the second of the 2 sessions where we'll be working on the music. We'll rehearse, but then we'll also perform, and we'll perform the music with me conducting to a performance, a previous performance by the Michael O'Neill Singers, and the markings that you have in your music will match the sound that you are hearing from the Michael O'Neill singers and match hopefully what I am giving you in my conducting. So that's the plan. Once again, I'm glad you're here, and I think we're going to have a great time during these 6 weeks, and especially because in addition to singing some wonderful music and having the sort of choral experience that one is able to get from singing in this way with pre-recorded music. We've been doing this all this past year, and it's been very successful. But in addition to that, we're really going to be concentrating on getting your voices back in good shape so you will feel great when you get back to your first rehearsal, probably in the fall. So let's get started. It's all about relaxation and freedom. Our voice is part of our body. Unlike other instruments that are played, the voice is entirely inside us. We don't sit, play a piano when we sing. We don't hold a clarinet, hold a trumpet. It's all in us. And so if we are tense, if we've had a stressful day and we feel stressed, it's going to come out in our singing. It will be heard. It will be felt. And so there are things that we need to do and that we can do before we come to a rehearsal to help get that instrument, which is our voice, in shape and ready to sing. Most of us will be in rehearsals at the conclusion of a day, after a full day of activity. And so either as we're on the way to the rehearsal, you can do some of these things even in the car as you are driving, or spend a few minutes before you get in the car or after you get to your rehearsal space, go find a quiet corner and just do a little sort of head rotation. It's not a big thing. Got to be careful if you are doing these things in the car, if you are driving, obviously. But just to kind of move back and forth, front and back, side to side. Nothing really extreme and not a real fast motion, but just a relaxing sort of motion. You can even take your hands, massage your shoulders a little bit. It's going to help relieve some of that tension. Try a little bit of a shoulder roll. Both shoulders, maybe feeling the forward roll, so they come forward like this, and then down, back, then up again, then reverse that motion. Now I'm doing all these things pretty quickly, but you could spend more time. You could do some rotations like this, or loosening up your head, do some shoulder rolls. You could spend 5 to even 10 minutes on this if you wanted. It's all going to help you relax, and you can kind of stretch, move your arms around a little bit. If you try to stand and be in a position where then you can bend over some and sort of swing your arms. I'll get out of camera range if I try to do it right now. But just sort of standing and swinging. Anything to loosen the body a bit. It will help, I promise you. Then, let's work with this area, which is where so much of our vocal production takes place. I want you to do something we call a yawn sigh. It begins with the feeling of a yawn, but you don't go all the way through to the end of the yawn. If you did, it would be like this. Forgive me. So I went on and I really completed the yawn. What I want you to do is a yawn sigh that goes, ah, but I'm not completing the yawn. You start high, then come down. Ah. You might have the tongue touch the back of the bottom teeth, and that's a good place for it to be so it doesn't ride up and get too stiff in your mouth and cause tension. So the tip of the tongue touching the back of the bottom teeth is a good place for a yaw sound. It's not going to get in the way because you're not creating a consonant there that needs the tongue to go elsewhere. So, ah, ah. All of this just helps relax this area, which is so important in singing. Now, I want to take that yawn sigh that we've just been working on and do a little something with it. Let's just go, maybe if we can start on this note. Ya. That's a G I'm playing, and just G, F, E, D, C. You can start on any pitch. Let's start up here on C. Middle C for basses and tenors, and the higher C for sopranos and altos, and we go ya. Again. Ya. Let's go up in half steps. Ya. 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 One more. Now that was a G. So G for pretty high note for sopranos, very high for altos. High note for tenors, very high for basses. Quasi-high for baritones. Now let's start here where we began a moment or so ago, and we'll go down by half steps. Ya. Then we go here. Ya. Now that's a G, low G for basses, and octave above, OG for altos. That's a G below middle C. You can go higher, you can go lower, but just practice this little 5-tone descending. Then I want us to expand it a little bit. Go back up to, I'll start on middle C for basses and tenors, and the C above that for sopranos and altos. And we're going to do that so it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 5, 3, 1. I'll sing it for you one time. And start with that nice open. Ya. Try that with me, please. And ya. Here. Ya. Here. Let's go back down. And on. Now, I want us to try something else, and it's similar to that, but it's a 5-3-4-2-3-1-2-7-1. Let me sing it for you. Ya. Feel that very relaxed. Ya. As you do it, try it with me, please. Ya. Let's go down a little bit. Ya. Couple more. Now I was going down. We can go up a little bit as well. Let's start back where we began. We'll go up by half steps. And and I would suggest to you, if you have a very high voice and you want to go higher than I am going in this little time with you, do that. If you have a very low voice and you want to go lower, go lower. I've established the pattern for you so you see what is going on. Now, let's do another thing with what we just did. It's expanding it again. It goes like this. It's got that 1-3-5-3-1 that we had a few moments ago when we did the but now it's this. I'll sing it for you. You sing along with me if you're ready. Here. Here. Can go lower if you wish. Now, I want to do one other thing with these. We won't do it with all of them, but I just want to show you how you can do this. Then you could run the video back and do these with an N in front. We've been doing ya, 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 but I want us now to go, we'll just do that first one that we did, where it was ya. Now I want you to go na, or even na, 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 na. Then if you were doing the na, 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 or the na, 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 na 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 na. The point is, you're putting an N in front of every note. So practice that some. I've given you a lot of things that you can work on today, and I suggest that you just extract them from this video and work on them some on your own this next week as you prepare for session 2, because we'll continue using some of these in session 2. But now we're going to apply some of what we have just done to the music that we're going to be working on today. And let's start with Wayfarin Stranger. This is a wonderful, haunting folk song. It's in a minor key. It starts in E minor, and then about halfway through it goes to F minor. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But I just want to point out that so often what happens when we're doing a warm-up in a choral rehearsal, or we're working on our voices ourselves before the rehearsal begins, just as we have been doing today, working on some vocal freedom and being able to start with a nice relaxed sound, we don't always apply those things to the music that we then rehearse. So we'll start right now with relaxation. We've been doing that yawn, the yawn sigh. One thing I've not mentioned, and I want to mention to you now, is take your hands and just sort of pull down on the side of your face as you're singing. So if you were singing, we were doing the ya. If you go ya. What that does is it helps keep our mouth open, more of a vertical position this way. Too often we sing with the ya. We don't open our mouths enough. So this will be a good reminder to keep our mouth open. So as we are singing this, we're going to do this at a slower tempo than Matthew Curtis has provided for you. Hopefully you've been listening some to your part specific and to the balanced voices even before you came to this first session. And he's doing it at about 63 for the half note as the music is marked. But and we will perform it at about that tempo, but I want to do it at about 56 on the half note right now. So it's going to be slower. If you've been working on it some before this session, you'll note, well, this is slower than it has been on purpose. And I also want us to sing, instead of with words, I want us to sing with the na. So you won't go basses and tenors. I'm just a poor wayfaring stranger. I want you to go na 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 na. Always just kind of pulling easily, lightly pulling down on the side of your face. So let's try it. Hopefully you know your parts. We're going to, after we go through it one time on the na, we'll go back and we'll look at some specific places and make sure that we've got all our parts figured out. But I'll conduct a little bit as we go, but you keep singing na and keep pulling down easily with your hands on the side of your face.
I'm just a poor wayfaring stranger, a-traveling through this world of woe. But there's no sickness to
I hope you were able to keep that na going throughout. I know it's sort of difficult when you're listening to the words being sung, and it makes you want to go to the words, and we're going to do that in just a moment. But the importance of singing with the na at the beginning was to keep that feeling of freedom and relaxation. We're trying to get that to carry over from what we did in our exercises a few moments ago to the actual singing of a song. And an ah sound is about the most relaxed that we can make if it is properly produced. And with that yawn sigh, I'm trying to give you some hints on how to sing with a nice relaxed ah. That's a good way to practice. Most songs will do the same thing in a little while with Skip to My Lou. Which is a much faster tempo, a very different style of piece, but it can still be done with that in a first run through. But now let's just look at this piece a little bit from the very beginning. Starts, of course, with basses and tenors, and nothing out of the ordinary right there at the beginning, I think. Now, sopranos and altos, when you come in, notice that it is SSA, and you'll see in the music my markings are always in red. I have added those to what the composer or the arranger may have already done. So I'm telling you there, you might have figured that out already, but on page 4 at measure 13, I want the sopranos to divide, not the altos. So that middle part will be done by second sopranos. But your part goes like this, sopranos and altos right there. Listen, it goes 1 and 2. So the second soprano part, the middle part, which is sometimes the hardest one to hear, is and then it goes on with tenors and basses, then sopranos and altos coming in again at the top of page 5. We go into parts at the bottom of page 5 with the basses and the altos singing the same thing. They're in measure 32. Then it goes on. And the tenors and sopranos have, and then tenors are going to divide and sopranos are going to divide, you see. It sounds like this for tenor and soprano at the bottom of page 5. So, I want to make sure that you have your parts there. Then when we get to the top of page 6, the sopranos and altos are singing in unison. I'm only going over Jordan. Tenors and basses are singing a little accompaniment on ooh there. So it goes 1 and fermato on 2. You notice the fermatas that I have put in measure 39. You won't be hearing that from Matthew Curtis and the audio files that he has created for us. But in our performance, I'll conduct that, and you'll hear the Michael O'Neill singers doing that. So at that spot, it will sound more like this. Fermata, then a lift. So know that those marks that are in red, sometimes Matthew will do those, sometimes he won't, but we will in performance. Now, when we get to the bottom of page 6, it's like a round here. The sopranos started, then the tenors and the basses take it, then the altos take it. But everyone is singing the same thing. We're all singing this. I want to wear a crown of glory. But we have different entrances. We start with the sopranos. Bass tenor, alto, one entrance after the other. It's very nice the way it all fits together. Then, the middle of page 7, we have a fermata again. The altos have it on heavenly band. And then you see I've written T-E-N period. Stands for tenuto, or to hold. So right there it will be in our performance. I'm, go, and then. So just know that we'll be holding in our performance. Then it goes on, and it is still soprano division there at the bottom of the page. It marks it at the middle of page 7. Gilbert Martin has marked it. He's put S period div, soprano division. So at the bottom of page 7, it's still the same thing, the last measure. So the way that sounds for second sopranos is down to that E natural. So just be careful about that. And then the rest is pretty straightforward. Now, what I want us to do is go back and sing with the words, still at the slower tempo, but I want you to keep the feeling in your mind, this yawn. So as you begin basses and tenors, back in E minor now, instead of just starting without thinking about anything at all, I want you to think, yawn, sigh. And then when you sing, it will be, I'm just a poor wayfarin. Like that. Keep thinking the yawn, sigh throughout the piece, everyone. Every time you get ready to come in, imagine a yawn. And let's see how it feels. From the beginning then, with words this time.
I'm just a poor wayfaring stranger, traveling through this world of woe. But there's no sickness, toil, or danger in that bright road to which I go.
I'm going there to be my mother. I'm going there no more to roam.
I'm just a going overjoyed. I'm just a going over home.
I know dark clouds will gather round me. I know my way is rough and steep, but beauteous
And congratulations to any of you who were able to be singing that final ooh and still thinking ah. It's a trick. But if you can begin to develop that idea of always creating everything within that ah position, it is going to help relax the voice and make you a more relaxed singer. Now, let's go on and look at the next piece, Skip to My Lou, and we'll have some fun with that. Skip to My Lou is very different from the Wayfarin Stranger that we just did. This is in a major key, not a minor key. It's very bouncy, a lot of fun, exciting to sing, and it is fast. But we're not going to do it quite as fast as we will in performance, or quite as fast as what you hear with your part-specific and balanced voices audio that has been prepared by Matthew Curtis. That is at about 112 as the music is marked there. It says 112 to 116, and he performs it at 112. But I've adjusted that, and we're going to sing it now at about 96 on the quarter note, which is still fast, but it's not as fast as we will be doing it in performance in our next session. So as we do it, I want to do the same thing we did with Wayfarin Stranger, and I want us to sing it with na. So if you can think na 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 na. Sometimes when it's going faster, those 16th notes, the na might be a little difficult to do, and if you wanted to switch to a D there, you could. So na 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 da 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 na 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 da 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 da. Anytime you want to sing a D instead of an N, go right ahead. If it will help you get through it. But the main idea is to keep the ah feeling, and use your hands to pull down a little bit. I know you're probably tired of doing that by now, but it's a good exercise and really will help us keep the freedom going and the relaxation. So let's sing at 96 and with na or da sometimes, and relaxing as we sing. Keep that yawn sigh in your mind.
Choose your partner, skip to my loo. Choose your partner, skip to my loo. Skip to my loo, my darling. Loo, skip to my loo. Loo, skip to my loo. Loo, skip to my loo. Skip to my loo, my darling.
Can't get a red, red, a blue, but I'll do. Can't get a red, red, a blue, but I'll do. Can't get a red, red, a blue, but I'll do. Skip to my loo, my darling.
Loo, skip to my loo. Loo, skip to my loo. Loo, skip to my loo. Skip to my loo, my darling. Flies in the buttermilk, shoo, shoo, shoo. Flies in the buttermilk, shoo, shoo, shoo. Flies in the buttermilk, shoo, shoo, shoo. Skip to my loo, my darling.
Loo, skip to my loo.
Loo, skip to my loo. Loo, skip to my loo. Skip to my loo, my darling. Lost my partner, what'll I do? Lost my partner, what'll I do? Lost my partner, what'll I do? Skip to my loo, my darling. I'll get another one prettier than you.
I'll get another one handsome and true.
I'll get another one better than you. Skip to my loo, my darling. Ooh, skip to my loo. Skip to my loo. Skip to my loo, my darling. Skip a little faster, that won't do. Skip a little faster, that won't do. Skip a little faster, that won't do. Skip to my loo, my darling. Skip, skip to my loo. Skip, skip to my loo.
Now, you may have found it was a little more difficult to keep that na feeling and keep producing the N sound than it was with Wayfarin Stranger, and I understand that. But it's still a good exercise, because even if you weren't quite as successful as you were with the other piece, it is still getting you to sing with that relaxation and freedom that we are really working on in this session. Now, let's just go back to the beginning of the piece and see if there are a few things that we need to observe before we sing it together again with words. Nothing so much right at the beginning. Starts with sopranos and altos in unison, then tenors and basses. Continues. Once again, you see my marks, phrasing marks, breath marks throughout. They're in red. When we get over to measure 25, it's going to be a soprano division. That's the way I want you to do it. So right there, it would be, ladies, can't get a red bird of. So the middle part sounds like this, the second soprano. Now go to measure 41. Notice that it's the tenors there on flies in the buttermilk, shoo, 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 and then basses, flies in the buttermilk, shoo, 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 then tenor, baritone, and bass. So it'll be baritones there will sing so flies in the buttermilk, shoo, shoo, shoo. And then you're on back down. Skip to my Lou, my darling. Soprano division at 49. So you've got there. Tenor division in the middle of the page there, not baritone division. So tenors, I would want you to go Lou, skip to my Lou. And all basses and baritones would sing Lou, Lou, skip to my Lou. Then when we get to measure 57, it slows down. Where I've been conducting quarter note, there I'll conduct eighth notes. So it really will be nice and slow. So make sure you're secure with your notes right there. Then it goes right back at the top of the next page at measure 65, right back to the quarter note beat and with a bass baritone division. So I think that's all what goes on with the piece. Nothing really I will say this, at measure 89, you're singing on the offbeat. 1, 2, 1. Skip, skip, to my Lou, skip, skip. So make sure that you are feeling that and aware that you're coming in on the end of the beat. All right, let's go back now and sing the piece with words this time, but still at the slower tempo of 96. We'll move to the faster tempo by next week, and you can certainly be doing the faster tempo in your practice during the week. With words this time.
is your partner. Skip to my loo, skip to my loo, my darling. Loo, skip to my loo, loo, skip to my loo, loo, skip to my loo, skip to my loo, my darling.
Can't get a red, red, a blue, riddle do. Can't get a red, red, a blue, riddle do. Can't get a red, red, a blue, riddle do. Skip to my loo, my darling.
Loo, skip to my loo, loo, skip to my loo, loo, skip to my loo, skip to my loo, my darling. Flies in the buttermilk, shoo, shoo, shoo. Flies in the buttermilk, shoo, shoo, shoo. Flies in the buttermilk, shoo, shoo, shoo. Skip to my loo, my darling.
Loo, skip to my loo.
Loo, skip to my loo, loo, skip to my loo, skip to my loo, my darling. Lost my partner, what'll I do? Lost my partner, what'll I do? Lost my partner, what'll I do? Skip to my loo, my darling. I'll get another one prettier than you.
I'll get another one handsome and true.
I'll get another one better than you. Skip to my loo, my darling. Ooh, skip to my loo. Skip to my loo. Skip to my loo, my darling. Skip a little faster, that won't do. Skip a little faster, that won't do. Skip a little faster, that won't do. Skip to my loo, my darling. Skip, skip to my loo. Skip, skip to my loo. Skip, skip to my loo. Skip to my, skip to my, skip to my loo. Skip to my loo, my darling.
Hope you enjoyed that. That was fun. And we'll continue working on that and Wayfarin Stranger next week. But we'll also be performing those two pieces next week with previously recorded performances by the Michael O'Neill Singers. And if you have not participated in that sort of an event, if you have not been involved with MOS Online this past year, you may not have done this. It is a very satisfying experience. Surprisingly so, I think, for a lot of people who have not done it before. I would suggest that you wear headphones or earbuds. In fact, I suggest that you do that in all of these sessions that we do together because it makes the sound more realistic, especially when you're singing. You hear those voices in your ears and it feels very much like a scramble choir arrangement where you have all of the different voice parts around you singing. You're hearing, say you're a tenor, but you're also hearing soprano and alto and bass, not just the tenors around you. So that's my suggestion. And I also want to say you have all of the music for all 6 sessions. And if you want to go ahead and be looking at some of the other pieces and getting comfortable with the notes, please feel free to do that. We will, as I have mentioned before, we're just going to work on 2 pieces for 2 sessions. So next week we won't add any more new music, but if you want to go ahead and be working on the spirituals that we'll be doing in sessions 3 and 4, so you are really comfortable with those pitches, especially My Soul's Been Anchored in the Lord, the Moses Hogan arrangement is pretty involved, and if you have not sung it before, you might want to get a jump start on that. Feel free to do so. And now our executive director, Cammie Stevens, is going to come and speak to you for several minutes and share some important information with you. And one thing she will talk about is the Zoom session that will follow her speaking. And I hope that many of you will decide to stay and participate in that. You can either listen, you don't have to get involved other than watching and listening. But if you want to be able to speak, we have an opportunity for us to interact with each other. So here's Cammie, and then I hope to see you in a few minutes on Zoom.
Good evening, singers. My name is Cammie Stevens, as Michael said, and I also welcome you to our online choral boot camp. Thank you for tuning in to session 1 tonight. Now, if you have any questions about session 1 or about any of our programs, either online or in person, as we go along through our boot camp, please don't hesitate to email us. You can press reply to any of the emails we send you, or you can reach out to me directly at cammie@mosingers.com. That's CAMMIE at mosingers.com. Well, in a minute, we're going to start that Zoom session Michael referenced. And for our Zoom sessions, I want you to know that you don't have to turn on your camera. You don't have to turn on your microphone. You are not expected to talk if you don't want to. We invite you just to simply jump on the meeting. You'll hear from special guests. Tonight, it's Michelle Gerald, a local soprano, local to us here in Roswell, Georgia. Then, after we have that time, you're welcome to jump off when you need to be on your way. It's not a conspicuous thing. We don't all hear a noise or see that you've left the meeting, so please feel free to come and go as you need. But if you want to stick around, we're going to offer an open mic time for singers to talk with each other and meet people from literally around the country and around the world that are also participating in our session Zoom tonight. We'll have that information in just a minute, but I wanted to remind you, or let you know if you're new to the program, that tomorrow about noon, you'll receive an email from us with just some reminders and tips to practice and get ready for session 2 of Online Choral Boot Camp. Now, over to Zoom. You may use the QR code that's about to pop up, or you can use the link that was sent out in last night's email. I hope to see and meet some of you there.